Live your life, boy.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Conspiracy Farm, where we don't start the conspiracies, we just add the water. And now, your host of the most state-of-the-art, most informed podcast on the interweb, I present to you Pat Miletich and Jeffrey Wilson. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for war?
Yeah, rear naked choke a Cocker Spaniel, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Bro.
Change the neighborhood up.
Conspiracy Farm. Go. Check it out.
What's up, guys? Not sure how many people are in here right now, but just waiting for Patrick J, as well as our guest for the evening, Mr. John Tobacco. Really looking forward to this episode. Hope everybody's doing well. Like I said, our guest will be here in just a moment. For those who've been wondering where we are, where we have been, I think I mentioned this in our last live stream with Sonny Puzikas. YouTube hasn't been very friendly to us, and we've never really been a big fan of YouTube. So, we still will continue occasionally posting these type of videos, live streams, maybe Q&A and such. But, we've kind of changed things up a little bit. So we put all of our shows under one broadcast, that podcast network. So if you can find it, it's on here on YouTube. And like I said, we will still occasionally be posting stuff like this on the YouTube channel. But all of our RSS feed pretty much is now under the name of That Podcast Network, which includes, that umbrella has all of our shows. It's me speaking to you, Everything Combat, as well as The Conspiracy Farm. So if you punch that in on most of our normal podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, you should be able to find us. And like I said, we haven't completely abandoned the old YouTube, but it's, It's like I said, it's just not really for us. We're switching stuff up. We're on Rockfin, rockfin.com / That Podcast Network, SoundCloud, all that other good stuff. We got Patrick Miletich here, ready to go. Pat, how we doing, brother?
What's up, buddy? Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. We are waiting Mr. Tobacco's appearance. Just getting fired up here. Thank you guys for joining us on sort of late notice.
Can you hear me, Jeff?
I can. It was just, They don't like it. It literally, we got strong internet here, man. It never, ever hasn't. We never have an issue.
Yeah, I've got full bars, so I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's not you. It was just, it just gave me a notice that it was buffering or whatever. But again, we got very strong internet here on any other circumstance and any other situation except for when we come on here. But how you doing, brother? You doing all right?
Is Johnny on?
I'm sorry?
Is Johnny on?
No, not quite yet.
Is Johnny on?
No, not yet.
I'm doing all right, man. Just, watching the developments. A lot of crazy shit going down today, dude.
We do have Johnny Tobacco on the line here. Let me add him to the conversation.
That's great.
Fantastic.
How you doing, Johnny?
No, I don't hear Dan, but he's breaking up hard.
Okay, hold on.
Pat.
Let me try and find a little better spot.
Yeah, let us get it situated
Can
here.
you hear me? Check. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. I'm just trying to find a better spot to do this, okay?
Johnny, can you hear me pretty good, my friend?
I hear you perfect.
Great.
I'm just going down the road to the gas station. I'm going down the road to the gas station parking lot. Johnny, I live in a 130-year-old house that's built like a fortress, and I can't do shows out of the inside of it with my phone because it's freaking literally so solid.
I can't hear
So
Pat.
can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, you're breaking up a little, Pat, and I think Johnny said he can't hear you too well.
Oh, damn it. Check.
I can't hear him at all. I just hear static.
Did you hear that, Pat? He just hears static right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to find a spot, dude. Trying to find a spot.
Stand by, ladies and gentlemen. Stand by. Appreciate you guys chiming in tonight. I'm super, super stoked to talk to this gentleman. He was, as we see, we're seeing all these different closures and restrictions, creating closures of businesses, small businesses throughout the country. And in particular, the gentleman, Danny Presti, who is the manager and just affiliated with Max Public House. There's been, he was arrested twice, and we're going to get into it. And this gentleman here, Johnny Tobacco, is our guest tonight. He's on the team, not necessarily the legal team, but the team is a Staten Islander, fellow New Yorker, supporting Danny Presti as we wait for Pat to get online here. It's a very important conversation that I want to have with this gentleman, because this pub, this establishment in New York is just a litmus test, and honestly is what we're seeing all across the country as businesses are being forced to close. People are being forced into poverty, an implosion of the U.S. economy via the middle class. And we're going to kind of talk about at least what's going on there in New York City and specifically Staten Island with Johnny Tobacco. Pat, are you with us?
Can you hear me?
You sound a little muffled, but I can hear you. Johnny, can you hear him? Johnny?
Well, look, man, conduct the interview and I'll chime in a little bit, okay?
I hear Pat.
Okay, good, buddy, good.
Okay, perfect. Johnny Tobacco, man, I thank you so very much. I recently caught wind of who you were the other day, the press conference outside of Max Public House. Obviously, he's been in the news quite a bit lately with a couple of arrests. And honestly, my hat was just so off to you guys, because we talk about all the time on the show here with what's going on. Acquiescence is compliance, and they can't arrest us all. We have to have individuals like yourself, individuals like Danny and Keith, and it just, as that great resistance, man, it has to start with some of us. So it's good to see you doing it. How are you tonight, my friend? I know you've been very busy.
I'm doing phenomenal. Liberty and justice are winning in humble little Staten Island right now. Jeff, thanks a lot for you and Pat for having me. I really appreciate it. I respect what you guys are doing, and we really need to do more of this. We not only encourage people to get out to the rallies and raise your voice and speak up and try to get the silent majority all moving in one direction, but we need more people to innovate and find platforms where independent news broadcasters and commentators can talk and share and spread. And again, when you see the Silicon Valley cartel and what they did to this election and what they're doing to the pandemic and everything else, you really start to realize that this isn't the America we grew up in. The idea of America was free thought, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and the very tenets that this country was built on. They're getting killed on the media front. I know you guys probably hit it, but in the last month, I've been completely banned on TikTok. Okay, I was on TikTok for 2 months. My site started blowing up, and I did a story on this guy Charles Wade, who's one of the founders of BLM. Okay, and I was talking about how the NFL and all these companies are bowing down to BLM, and most people don't know, but this guy Charles Wade was arrested in a child sex trafficking ring like 5 years ago. So I was using sourced information from a Minnesota newspaper, a credible newspaper, and just saying the truth that, if you're in line with these people, know that the two women that found it are on the record Marxists. And this guy Charles Wade was arrested, indicted for a child sex ring, and pled guilty to a lesser charge. But is that who we want to see our major companies investing in? TikTok banned me. Facebook shut down my other page. I'm operating now in like a limited capacity with their, I'm still in appeal with them. I got banned from YouTube for a week. Google shut down my Gmail account. Okay, so I had to use like an anonymous IP to start a new Gmail so that I can have access to my G Suite. So, on a lot of fronts, my friend, we're doing God's work, spreading the word and the truth.
Well, and I've heard that recently, how Gmail, they're actually flagging people's individual private messages and emails now, which is just,
Yep.
I mean, we've seen it's just across the board, out of control. Just to give a little context, man, I mean, I've listened to you, and, give us a little insight of who you are, man. You're a fellow, like you said, New Yorker, Staten Islander. Your dad was a New York policeman. Give us a little background on you, sir, if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, I was born in Manhattan on the Lower East Side. My whole family came from a place called Knickerbocker Village, which is public housing, blue-collar family. My dad became a cop, moved out to Staten Island. I grew up in Staten Island since first grade. I'm a Staten Island boy through and through, proud of it, proud son of a cop. You know, Staten Island, many people don't know, but it's the redheaded stepchild of New York City. Everybody thinks New York City's all liberal. And Staten Island is, you know, MAGA country for sure. And we don't even belong in this city, to be honest with you. But spent 30 years on Wall Street. I'm an inventor. I'm a patent holder on a number of different technologies. I'm an entrepreneur. I've started up, built multiple companies. I've sold, you know, been in transactions in the last 10 years.
He's also the host, ladies and gentlemen, of Liquid Lunch, which is on Biz TV, I believe, still Biz TV, and it's he also
right.
Liquid Lunch podcast.
That's right, and I spent the last 4 years on Newsmax. I've recently started broadcasting on Biz TV, where I'm heard every day, noon to 2 Eastern, and we're just speaking the truth, of course, there also. And you know, I feel like my Wall Street career put me in a position where I could spend time right now trying to do what I think I need to for freedom, for liberty, for my kids, really. So anywhere I can find an opportunity to talk about the message and try to, you know, make people understand that this is way more than a pandemic or a supposed pandemic. This is a program right now to see. It's an experiment, you know. It's really an experiment to see how much pressure the blue cities and blue states can put on the people and see what they'll submit to. And I've been joking around saying I'm from Staten Island. I may be Italian and everything, but I ain't no guinea pig. You know what I mean? We don't want to be experimented on. We want what we were born into.
Well, and that's essentially what's happening when you start talking about the vaccines. Like, hey, we haven't really tried this yet. You know, our older statesmen, our older people whom we love, our grandparents, et cetera, they're the ones being tested on. But again, you know, even outside of any political ideology, what's happening right now, even in the election, if they're able to steal an election, if you're okay with it because you hate Trump so much, well, just wait until it happens to the person that you hate. You set a very dangerous precedent. Not you, but we've all set a dangerous precedent if we just accept this shit. And what's going on with we're seeing what's happening with the stock market. We're seeing, not the stock market, but to the middle class, which is the driving force of our economy, literally shutting businesses down by the hundreds of thousands. People are losing their livelihood, their jobs, and even their lives from this. So this is why I was so stoked to see you guys pushing back.
It's absolutely crazy. You know, Jeff, I was talking on Liquid Lunch today about, you know, a little bit of an American history buff. But, you know, when the Sons of Liberty started to get together covertly to meet, you know, history tells us that they met in taverns, restaurants, and churches, right? And this is where they held their meetings because there were other people there and they could kind of fit in and it wouldn't look like, why are all these great thinkers getting together, right? So they met in bars, taverns, and in churches. And at the same time, you know, in America, we're in a war on cash, right? There's not enough change anymore, supposedly. When they lock down the inside of the bank and they only leave the drive-through open, that limits the amount of cash you can get out because they have limits on the drive-through, like $1,500 or $2,000. But if you go in the branch, you can get up to $8,000 without signing a form to the government. So you know, a lot of the states still have inside branches by appointment only or locked, and they have limited. So it starts to look to me like, wait, they don't want us congregating in places where we can have free thought, like bars and taverns and churches, houses of worship. And at the same time, what are the big money centers that cause velocity in currency? Bars and restaurants. So they're killing two birds with one stone by killing a little businessman. They don't want us to have places of assembly so that we can
even in your own home in certain places. Yeah, Thanksgiving you can't have more than 10 people, and you got those snitch lines and snitch groups that are like calling cops or whatever on. It's just full on crazy because, you know, I almost hate to preface this, but it sucks that anybody's having to deal with any loved one that's had to deal with this COVID situation. But when you start extrapolating the numbers, what the fuck are we doing? We are destroying our society off of something that basically 99 point whatever people survive. And that's not to say that people aren't dying. I don't think this is a hoax, etc. But the reaction, the cure is become so much worse than the disease now, to the point where, I mean, emergency room visits for kids being abused, domestic violence, beating their dogs, suicides, relapses, overdoses. I mean, people, again, are losing not just their livelihood, but their lives from this. And it's on its face, like, you know, imagine our greatest generation. You know, we lament history and all the veterans and everyone who's gone and fought for this country under the values that our flag represents. And here we are now, you know, like you had mentioned in an interview I saw a couple years ago outside of the pub, this, you know, Cuomo brings his fucking Gestapo down. And that's essentially what it is. And there's no real laws they're enforcing. They're not ordinances. They're just orders. And
they're not anything. They're not anything. They're edicts. In the old days, they called it an edict. Okay. Yep. And the truth of the matter is, and I was, you know, if you saw that one, I think you're talking about the one in front of Max when I had on like a checkered coat.
Oh, dude, that coat is the flyest ever. Let me tell you, my friend, Giant Tobacco. I need that coat or something similar to it. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Dude. Well, listen, you gotta look the part, but you know, a lot of people say, "Where did you get that coat?" But
that coat came from GangstersRUs.com.
Yeah, there you go. There he is. Now we can hear him.
Yeah.
No, but. You know what? The truth of the matter is they keep telling us to follow the science, right? And, you know, I spent 30 years on Wall Street, so one of the things I'm good at is math. I like to try to bring everything down to the binary numbers, you know? And through December, through like 2 days ago, you know, every year the U.S. government has an actuarial table that suggests or supposes how many people they think will die every day from all causes. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but, you know, there's a certain amount of people that are just going to die every day from something.
Every day. We live in a society and a world with risk.
And now,
well, when you're born with a death sentence. Nobody understands that.
Right. And Pat, you know, to that point, every year, the past 10 years, our mean amount of deaths is like 2.7 million. Okay, some number like 2.7 million, and as an average, this year we're at like 2.5. You know what I'm saying? So we're below the average of total deaths. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Where even if every COVID was really COVID, last year we had 2.9 million deaths. This year we had, right now in the middle of December, we're at 2.5. So we have less death this year than 2019.
Well, and somehow COVID got rid of influenza and flu this year, miraculously.
And pneumonia.
You know, I know, you know, you're being polite to, you know, I guess social media folks, but who you don't want to get banned from, I would imagine. But, you know, it's like the numbers are simple. If 2.9 million people died in America last year from all causes, and only 2.5 million have died this year, there ain't much COVID in there. Or we cured everything else, if you follow me. And then take it to the other side of the coin, to the Max Pub, to the restaurants, to the money centers, and the war on cash. The New York State report last week said, in New York State, 74% of the spread is in the household, okay? The contact tracing from restaurants and bars in New York State is 1.4%. So you're saying you have a 1.4% chance of getting it in a bar or restaurant, and you have a 74% chance of getting it at home. But we're going to send you home. And then you start to really question, you know, what are the rules of sovereignty for that now?
And Johnny, you know, we know, you know, Jeff and I have been talking on our show about this. I mean, our first episode almost 5 years ago, we were talking about, you know, the media-driven race divisions and everything else that was coming, right? And, you know, up to 2 years before this lockdown happened, the first lockdown 9 months ago, Jeff and I were talking about asymmetrical warfare, weaponized viruses, financial collapse. And we went as far as to say it was going to happen in the spring of 2020.
Wow.
Over a year before this happened.
Jeez.
Because, look, I've always followed financial metrics and things like that. I was the kid that was standing in line at 5 years old in 1971 with my mom and grandma when they got me up at 3 or 4 in the morning to go to the Farmers National Bank in Albia to get my grandma's cash out when the farmers banks there was a run on the banks to get the cash out after Nixon took us off the gold standard. So something opened something in my brain, right? So, we've been talking about this for a long time. We've been paying attention, and my gut has generally told me exactly what's going on. And, we are in a full-fledged, right now, asymmetrical war with China. We have been since, 2018, since Trump started to get tough with them on trade. But at the same time, where are almost all of pharmaceutical products made?
China.
Where are almost all of big tech's products made?
Yeah, without a doubt.
So these people, these CEOs who are now the most powerful people in the world, are working on behalf of China, as well as many politicians on both sides of the aisle. These people are committing treason. And if Trump is the white hat that I hope he is, there's a lot of hangings coming, brother.
Well, I sure hope so. I'll tell you, back in January, back at the end of December, when Trump cracked down on the first phase of the tariffs, and China came to the table and, allegedly agreed to not manipulate their currency anymore. Just a few weeks before that, they lowered the reserve rate in their banks in China from 20% to 10%. So, like that run on the bank you were talking about was getting close in China, because they said to the banks, hey, you usually have to keep 20% of your money on reserve as deposits. They said you only have to keep 10 because people were trying to borrow more because China was having some serious problems. Now the tariff's another one. And I tell you, I'll send you guys the clip. The end of January, I said, when they started talking about this Wuhan and everything, I said, this is a deflationary move by China because China has their hands tied. They promised Trump they won't manipulate their currency, and now they got tariffs against them. So they can't screw around right away, not on their long-term arc of a plan. So what they're going to do is, if they can't screw around, they got to bring everyone else down to them. So when they put this pandemic out there, and they sent it to us for sure, that move was, instead of being able to inflate their currency like they've been doing for years, Trump put some locks on them and it would be obvious. So what they did is they launched this pandemic so that they can deflate the rest of the world and they don't go out of business. I'm telling you, this is part of what happened to us.
This is definitely a larger geopolitical plan. I mean, this is, individuals like Klaus Schwab from the World Economic Forum talking about how they're going to utilize this to move us into this new normal, this technocratic state that we're looking at. But I mean, God, we went macro real fast. How you kind of jumped on the map here, sir. I just want to speak specifically because this is what's happening all across the country. Danny Presti in the Max Public House, like I said, you were affiliated with these gentlemen. You probably frequent the spot from Staten Island. Give us a little background on what's.
Let's go down to the street level.
Yes, sir.
I've been saying it. At the same time, like Pat said, we're watching right before our eyes. They're trying to steal this presidential election. Okay, there's no doubt. We have to stop the steal. Right down here to the micro level in Staten Island, Governor Cuomo and Mayor de Blasio are trying to steal people's businesses. So we got to stop the steal on the street level and then at the national level, because whatever happens nationally, if we steal the streets and the middle class business, we're done. Okay, so I don't frequent the bar. I never met these guys before in my life. I've been on television. I've been an activist for over 20 years now. I'm a financial analyst mostly. I do some politics here and there. I've been on Newsmax for the last 4 years in a bunch of different roles on air. But I heard about it, and I said, wait a minute. There's no possible way that if these laws can be enforced by the police. I know the police. They would never do this. The NYPD, the real police.
Yeah, okay.
I went down there.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I went down there to the bar, And my attorney, Lou Gelomino, is their attorney. I said, Lou, I want to meet with these guys. I went down there to the bar to meet them, and I said, hey, listen, guys, you're on to something, and I'm with you, and I got resources. I'm a broadcaster. I'm on national TV. Let me broadcast my show from here, and it makes your bar an essential business, and we can have a live audience in the bar. So they were like, holy cow, that would be great. As we're talking, the New York City Sheriff's barge in and arrest Andy. Okay, so now I'm like, okay.
Before you go on, please differentiate between the Sheriff's Department and the New York City Police Department, or the NYPD as we come to know it, because they are very different. They are very different capacities in which they operate.
The NYPD is the greatest fighting force on earth. My father was a proud member, and I respect them every time I see them. Men and women of the NYPD are what their name is. They're the finest, okay? Now, the Sheriff's Department in New York City, many people in flyover country in the Midwest and the Bible Belt, they think the sheriff is like the sheriff. You know what I mean? Like Buford T. Justice. Like, you know, the sheriff is coming to town. In New York City, we don't have a sheriff. We have a police commissioner, and that runs the NYPD. The sheriff is a civil law enforcement agency that comes and repos your car if you have too many tickets on it. They come and shut down your business if you're behind on your corporate taxes, and they padlock it, okay? The sheriff is commissioned out of the New York City Department of Finance, okay? They go around and bust stores that sell cigarettes with no tax stamp on them. You understand?
Yeah.
They're a civil enforcement agency, and they're all good men and women there too. But the thing is, their leadership is putting them in a role now that they are not trained for. This is not what they do. You know what I'm saying? They pull over taxi cabs who haven't paid their medallion fees and impound the car.
I think you, or during that press conference, you or Mr. Gelomino called them, and it's not pejorative, but they're more revenue collectors for the state than they are law enforcement.
I call them the pharaohs. I said they're the pharaohs. In the Bible, they call them the pharaohs. They're
Right.
tax collectors. They come, hey, we're about to take this vehicle because you owe $700 worth of parking tickets. No, I don't want you to take my vehicle. Well, give me $700. Give me $150 penalty for us coming out here, right? And they collect the money. You want to pay them, they take the money. And in New York City, they have a weird thing too, because the sheriff actually gets a cut of the bounty. If they come out and collect money, or if they impound stuff, they get a cut of the bounty. So they're really out there for money. And they're out there just to harass the public at this point, because they're doing stuff they're not.
So when we talk about Danny's first arrest, Danny Presti, obviously the manager, a part of the pub there. Arrest number one when December 1st, I believe it was December 1st, correct me if I'm wrong. It was on a Tuesday where plainclothes policemen went out, plainclothes people, policemen went in there, ordered food or whatever, and he was arrested later that night. And then upon apparently being released, second arrest December 6th, which was on a Sunday. Apparently, sheriff's deputies noticed stuff going on that Saturday, the day before, and then came in to arrest him that second time. It seems like that second arrest seems to be so much more controversial as we're hearing it in the news, because we're hearing that Danny drove over sheriff's deputies, broke their legs, etc. I mean, why are they rolling up in black uncovered cars and
They weren't black.
I'm sorry?
And
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Pat.
They weren't black cars.
government agents.
They're both arrested. The first thing is, when they came in on Tuesday night, they were not plain clothes. They were in uniform. They came in, they presented themselves. They said, hey, folks, this bar is not supposed to be open. Everyone leave now. If you don't leave, you're under arrest. Most of the people left, okay?
And this was the
Danny
first
was
arrest,
there.
you're saying? The first arrest?
Yes,
Okay.
the first arrest.
Okay.
And when Danny was in there, my attorney and his attorney, Lou Gelomino, was in there. They came in and they said, hey, you got to leave or we're going to lock you up. And he said, well, I'm not leaving my place. They said, well, he told his lawyer, we're going to take him into custody. He said, my client understands. They cuffed him. He submitted. They cuffed him. They walked him out. Everybody was going crazy, but no problem. In, out. He made his point. He was out within 4 hours. Okay.
Right.
Submitted peacefully. Here you go. I'm making my point. If you want to really arrest me, right? Now, Saturday night, that same week after he was out, I was there the whole night. People with social distancing, masks coming in, all the supposed fake guidelines, but we were going by them not to get them more aggravated, right?
Right.
Danny and I closed the bar at 10 o'clock, which is the New York State time. We hung out in there. We talked a little bit. We walked out at midnight, just the two of us, okay? And no one was there. We walked outside. We said, look, I guess they're not coming tonight. It's beautiful, Congrats. Beautiful. I'll see you tomorrow. I got in my car. I went to drive away. He walked to the corner and made a left. And these two guys roll up on him in like a white Honda Accord. It doesn't even look like an undercover. It's like you know what I mean? And he walks by them. And as he's walking to his car, they yell out, hey, yo, Presty. Just like that.
Yeah.
Now they got the full black regalia on, not uniforms with badges like the SWAT team things, okay? With the black mask over the face and the black wool cap down to here, right? You see this. This is what you see on them, right? And they yell, yo, Presty. Now the guy's been getting threats from Antifa, Black Lives Matter. There was some protesters there throwing bottles at the store the other night when we were in it, okay? So he takes off. They start chasing him. He gets to his car first. He goes to pull out of the spot. The cop jumps in front of the car like this, right?
Yeah.
So Danny stops, and then he tries to nudge the guy with the car, like, get out of the way. He doesn't know. They never identified themselves.
Yes, that's a key point, too, man, because I saw that video. You have two people running up on you with, I'm assuming, like you said, previous threats. Like, what are you going to do? Sit there and wait for them to shoot you or whatever it is? Especially if they're supposed to be cops and not identifying themselves. That's, I mean, in my opinion, he did the absolute normal self-preservation move that anybody would do, having people dressed up in black rolling up on you, jumping. I've never seen, whatever. Cops don't necessarily roll like that, jumping on your hood and then holding on.
The cop was in a position where he was in a position here where he's never been trained to do this. Now he's trying to effectuate a street arrest, right, where he's not trained. We find out after that they had 20 officers, 20 deputies around the area in unmarked cars, right? I've had number of NYPD specialists, NYPD training folks, and they said no NYPD team of 20 people would ever let that guy get in his car,
right,
in the first place, because they'd have his car blockaded in. So if he ran when he got there, NYPD retired, running for New York City mayor, and he was a trainer for the NYPD, and he said, in no way, shape, or form has any NYPD officer in history been trained to jump on the hood of the car.
Yeah.
If you're dumb enough to set up your trap and let the guy get in his vehicle, then you got to get out of the way or use deadly force if you think your life is in. But you don't jump on the hood and hang on. It was like the Keystone Cops were out there.
Well, and and I know, and I don't know actually how many other. I think there's like several thousand businesses that have been shut down in New York, specifically kind of the New York City area. Do you have any thought as to why they got such a hard-on for you guys? The video I saw from 2 weeks ago, I think you were on Newsmax, but they panned and there was like 10, 20 cops guarding the front of the establishment. Like, don't they have any other things to do right now? I mean, you shut it down. What's specifically, why do you guys have the bullseye? Just because you're pushing back, I'm assuming.
Well, yeah, because, when the king wants to press his thumb down further, the thumb of oppression on the peasants, the ones that speak up, they want to crush them in the town square because they want everybody to be afraid to speak up. So when you're the guys that keep speaking up, then they think a bigger hammer is going to work. But what they don't realize is the big hammer's not working on us. We're Staten Islanders. We're not some limousine liberals from the Upper East Side that are going to go run to our doorman buildings, okay? We're going to keep fighting back. And we got a lot of blue-collar, blue-blood folks out here. Just as a point of reference, I'll give you one example. In 2015 Republican primaries, Donald Trump got 83% of the vote in Staten Island, New York, okay? It was whole country, okay? So Staten Island is Trump country, but listen to this. Only 40% of Staten Island are registered Republicans. One-third of the Democrats on Staten Island in this election right now voted for Donald Trump. So we're a true melting pot of people that are not just about blue or red or all this other crap. We're regular folk, and we all think the same, of the larger majority of us, and it's just not going to happen. So I'm broadcasting from the every single day. The bar's open. We're giving away free beer. You can come in and watch the show. I have a live audience, just like Saturday Night Live is doing, and you can't do anything about it.
Beautiful, dude. Beautiful. So let's talk Cuomo and de Blasio, dude. You know, has anybody done research on where they're getting their money? If it's coming from big tech, big pharma, we know that. Chinese interests. You know, I want to know who's paying these people off, as well as, you know, Gavin Newsom and the, you know, the governor of Michigan and other states that are just literally torturing their citizens. I want to know which ones are getting paid. And we know Gavin Newsom sent a California taxpayer check of, what was it, $500 million to China for a bunch of so-called supplies for COVID.
Yep, crazy. I haven't looked into Andrew Cuomo's donors because, quite frankly, you know, if you remember a few years back, they got all this money from Obama for they called it the Buffalo Billions Project, where they were going to reinvigorate the manufacturing, and they were going to build solar plants in upstate New York, and all this money came pouring in, $800 million came pouring in to build these high-tech centers, and nothing happened whatsoever. The whole thing was a complete and utter bust. The company Solyndra, I think, went in there. They went out of business. And Governor Cuomo, I call him Don Cuomo Leone. That's my name for him, because he runs New York State like a mob boss. He's Don Cuomo Leone, him and his little brother Fredo. What happens is, after the Buffalo Billions Project blows up, Don Cuomo Leone's right-hand man is investigated for this kickback scheme. And that guy right now is sitting in jail for embezzling millions of dollars of taxpayer money. And he never went bad on Cuomo. So he's not a rat. But Andrew Cuomo's right-hand man sits in jail today for embezzling millions and millions of dollars from this Buffalo Billions Project. So I don't think Cuomo, I don't know about China, but I can tell you this guy's one of the more corrupt guys out there. And at one point, into corruption in New York State, and as soon as the Moreland Commission started knocking on Andrew Cuomo's door, he then went to jail. So there's nothing sane about what's going on in New York. I don't know where his money's coming from, but I bet he's in cahoots with Gavin Newsom and Phil Murphy and the rest of these libs. It's bizarre where they're trying to take.
I mean, everybody's just been scratching their head how they've allowed so much of this stuff to go on with, burning down stuff, occupation spots of whatever they're calling them, Chaz, etc. And that's what's kind of the irony. With Governor Cuomo declares that particular establishment there in Staten Island an orange zone, and almost in a tongue-in-cheek kind of pushback. The guys over there at the pub call it an autonomous zone, which is cool. I mean, it's there. This is, I hate to say again, or I need to say again, this needs to be a ripple effect for small businesses around the world. I hope people can hear me. I think we broke up a little bit, but this is the middle class economy is kind of based off, like you said, the food and service industry, just these basic middle class jobs, and they're taking those away, and they're making people choose between following an edict, if you will, not even an ordinance that's legally enforced, or making a living. And we already saw the ramifications of this first lockdown. Like I said before, God, the numbers of just people losing their lives, losing their livelihood, placed into poverty, and now they're asking people to do it again. That's why I was so heartened to see your pushback and other people's pushback, because, again, acquiescence is compliance. And the only way this shit goes down is because we go along with it. But I mean, again, we all need to follow your lead. And if you
I
could
agree
probably
with you.
advocate for other small businesses or kind of reach out to other small businesses, like people need to, this conversation needs to reverberate, because we can't do this again. We cannot do this again, because I mean, the implosion
Well,
economic.
I can tell you
Just
this,
think about
and you
Go
guys
ahead.
can spread
Go
it
ahead.
around to your audience and direct anyone to me. I'm part of the Biz TV network. 80% of our audience identifies as a small business owner or an entrepreneur. Okay, we go to 40 million homes in America, but we're growing. And I'm empowered right now by the network. They're fully behind what we're doing. And if any bar or restaurant owner in the entire country wants to declare that their restaurant or bar is now a news bureau, I will sign you up as an affiliate of Liquid Lunch. You put one webcam in your studio, $20 webcam. I'll connect you, and you're a studio. And I can get every bar and restaurant in America essential tomorrow.
See,
This is
that's awesome.
something, dude. This is something
Have our,
that
it would be,
all Jeff and I,
Yeah.
excuse me, Jeff and I need to do this for the bars and restaurants in Iowa and Missouri.
That's right. You go to some bar or restaurant, you set up in there and you say, we're broadcasting the news live from here. Okay. And it's an essential location then, so they can have 50% occupancy inside. If their liquor license is currently like suspended or on hold, or they can't operate, then what you do is you charge everybody $20 for a ticket to come see the show, and you give them free beers during the show, and everybody's happy.
That's incredible, dude. That's
Nice
incredible.
loophole. Nice loophole. That's a nice end around. No, absolutely. So that's hugely important.
We're doing it.
Yeah, because you had said that before in the press conference, and I didn't. I thought that's
I'm
what you.
there every day. I just got home right now. I was there all day today.
So, ladies and gentlemen, listen. As a loophole and a possible end around, I don't know if
Go
this is.
to
Go ahead,
Jeff.
sir. Go ahead, bud.
Jeff, if you could, you could tell your viewers and listeners later on. I don't know if you do some other stuff, but if anybody asks you, you go to speakeasynews.com. Speak.
Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. Please stand by as we're giving the remedies. We're getting the notice of more interruptions. Just hold on 1 second. Mr. Tobacco was just about ready to lay out Speakeasy News. I'm sorry. Yeah, just as we got into the solutions, they threw us off again for a hot second. Speakeasynews.com. Is that correct,
Well, yeah, I have my website is there. It's called speakeasynews.com. It's laid out pretty simply. It costs you nothing. If you have a webcam, you can connect in an hour, in a minute. If you don't have a webcam, you got to go buy one for $20. We'll leave it on 24 hours a day. When you have somebody in there every 4 or 5 hours, you got to go in front of the camera and give us a little COVID report on what's happening in your neighborhood. And it also serves as like a watchdog because, cops, sheriffs, deputies all over the country are coming to places and harassing and intimidating people. And you don't think to start pulling out your phone while they're trying to steal your business, but you got one camera in there. It's like a national surveillance system.
So, Johnny, is that something that's like obviously nationally kind of implemented? If you wanted to, I mean, as far as being essential, a TV studio
Anywhere in the country.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that's such a huge kind of cheat code, man. If you set up a webcam, everyone's got a podcast nowadays. Some are cooler than others. Of course, we're the coolest. But just
go.
like you said, just set yourself up in your establishment, and you become an essential business. I don't know how that works as far as later on tax, liquor license, declaring yourself as a restaurant. I don't know about that. I obviously this is kind of new news to me. But if this is legit,
Well, yeah. Look. It's the loophole is this: if you have to pay your rent, right? Your liquor license can't operate right now or whatever, but you still have to pay your rent, right? If some movie studio comes along and says, hey, while you guys are out of business, How about what you say? We'll pay you $500 a day to let us use it as a movie set. You would say, yeah, great, okay, cool. How many days can we get? It'll help us pay the rent, right? So that's what all the Hollywood elites are doing. That's the lady in California crying. Her restaurant's closed, but they're shooting a movie right next door, and they have tents and all food and drinks and everything.
I saw that.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's a loophole there. There's a loophole there that exists for the Hollywood elites and the folks at Saturday Night Live. Ostensibly everyone who comes in your place bought a ticket to come in, and they're an extra in your show. And they can drink beers. They got to sit.
Is that something?
Whatever your state rules are.
Is that something Max Public House can do? Like tomorrow, like set up, you or whomever, set up some cameras inside there to kind of negate.
We're doing it. I'm there.
Okay, okay.
We're doing it.
So now they can remain open.
I'm there. I've been broadcasting there for the last 5 days.
Nice. Johnny Tobacco bringing the pain. Wow.
Their hands are tied. We're stepping up the pressure. We're doing. We're actually, because Saturday Night Live thought it was cool to start making fun of a bunch of people who were at the end of their rope. What we're doing at the studio is we're doing our own comedy show on Saturday nights at 11:30, the same time as Saturday Night Live. So I guess we'll see this Saturday if the sheriff wants to come back to town. But we're live, we're local. If they're gonna lock me up, they're gonna do it on national TV.
Yeah. Well, and even on its face, again, man, they're just not even trying to hide this. Why is it, your Max's Public House and any number of gyms or restaurants or bars have to make that decision of following some bullshit order and making a living, but a Lowe's, a Walmart, I mean, they flock them in there by the hundreds, and all they got to do is wear a mask. It's so on its face what they're doing. That's why I think it's so essential that this kind of resistance, this kind of pushback happens. Because it's, again, it's a version of reality, man. They're just turning us into fucking, mental slaves and physical slaves, and it's just
no doubt.
I can tell you this. When I go to the grocery store, I deliberately smile at everyone and stare them in the eye while I'm not wearing a mask and everyone else is. And you can see, it's kind of amazing. Try this sometime, guys. The women who see a man without a mask, who confidently smiles at them and stares them in the eye, they smile back, and they're literally almost comforted by an alpha male smiling back at them and going, this is the way a motherfucking alpha roll right here.
Wow. Well, who knew this? But aside from being, an amazing champion, he also has super special vision powers. He can see a woman smile through a mask. I love it.
Yeah.
You're damn right, buddy. You can see it in the eyes. And I tell you what, dude, the beta males will stare at the goddamn floor when I smile at them there.
No doubt about that.
The pussy motherfuckers. We are absolutely at war with China. We are absolutely at war with big tech, big pharma.
No question.
Silicon Valley, as you mentioned. There is no more holding back. Jeff and I have told people this was coming for years. We have tried to explain what was coming. And as soon as Trump got tough on China with trade, we knew this was going to go down. And now imagine Jeff and I studying enough geopolitical and domestic policy and knowing this was coming. Imagine my reaction. I said this last night on our podcast. Imagine my reaction when some moron tells me to put a mask on. I want to snatch them up by the neck and shake the fucking life out of them. It's insane dealing with these people.
Imagine being the poor soul who told Pat to put a mask
right.
on.
I have chewed some asses, bro. I have chewed some asses. You have no idea the scoldings. So, did I tell the story last night, Jeff? I don't remember, about the guy in Kansas.
I'm not sure.
Okay, so I'm driving back from a show in Kansas. I stop at a gas station to put gas in my vehicle. I go into a gas station. I go to the bathroom right away. I come out of the bathroom, walking down the hallway. Come out, there's like a guy that's my height, 5'10", 320 pounds, with a mask on, shakes his head. No, big no movement by his head. I go, something wrong with your fucking neck? And he goes, you're not wearing a mask. And I go, I don't need to wear a mask. I have an immune system. He goes, it's not about you. It's about everybody else. I said, all right, everybody else, we're going to start with you. You've never given a fuck about your health at any point in your life. You've been stuffing donuts in your face your entire goddamn life. And now suddenly me wearing a mask is going to save your fat ass. And there was like 10 people in the gas station, and they're all mortified, staring at the floor. They want no part of this conversation. And this is the way I treat these people. I'm not going to take their shit.
I like it.
And that's the only way that this really kind of ends in this mass movement. You know, not to get too deep down the rabbit hole because we're wrapping up here, but this is a massive psyop. Yes, people are being hurt by this, but the things that they're utilizing, the draconian measures that they're piggybacking. I'm sorry? What'd you say, John?
I think you were breaking up a little bit.
But, yeah, I was. No, just go ahead, bud.
We got it. Maybe next week I can get you guys to Skype into Liquid Lunch.
That'd be awesome.
Can't curse.
We love
can't curse. But other than that, why don't we have a little round table one day next week? I'll reach out to you, Jeff, Monday.
Let's do it.
And we'll set it up middle of the week. You come on Liquid Lunch. We'll kick it around. And if you ever
can I cuss on your show?
No.
No. That's what I'm saying.
I'm joking. I know I can't.
Again, that would be great, man, because this word needs to spread. Again, the only way this shit is able to work is if we acquiesce to it. You know, this fear-based trauma that the social engineers have been using us forever have us where we are right now. We're afraid of something that 99% of people survive, and they're destroying lives on a global scale, man. And it's just not persist. I mean, the jacket you were rocking, Johnny Tobacco, it was absolutely beautiful. That's one of the things that first caught my eye. I'm like, holy shit. And when I hit it, you guys were just bringing the pain, man. All of you guys, Louie, all of you guys are standing up because this isn't just about necessarily Max Public House. They're just a parenthesis of the infinite craziness that's happening throughout this country of people, again, losing their lives, their livelihood, and their businesses. It's so fucking unfortunate. So I thank you so very much for pushing back, man.
I'm really thankful for reaching out. I'm glad we got to rap a little bit.
Yeah, man.
And I'm gonna hit you back on Monday, and we'll set something up next week. You guys come on my show.
Let's do it. Shout us out. Where can we track you down? The podcast, anything you got going on? Where can we follow Johnny Tobacco, my friend?
Well, you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter at Johnny Tobacco, and on YouTube you can find us at Liquid Lunch TV. It's an easy one, Liquid Lunch TV.
Yeah, I was following some of those. I love it, and the speakeasy. So I love it. It's kind of got that enjoying yourself, having a good time kind of vibes, man. Johnny Tobacco.
Well, that's my website. If anybody wants to get some info.
I appreciate your time, my friend.
Doubt.
Still, I mean,
guys, thanks a lot.
All the best to you, Mr. Danny Presti, the whole bar, Louis Gelomino, the whole crew. You guys are doing fucking the Lord's work over here, man. Continued success, and we will talk soon, my friend. All right. Johnny, Pat. You there still, Patrick? Oh, I'm the only one here. All right, winding down. Thank you for everybody that was here. I apologize for any of the interruptions. We just kind of deal with that. I don't know what's going on. We get a lot of interference. I don't know if I need to up my internet, whatever. But we tend to get a little bit more breakup when we start doing this shit. But I thank you guys all so very much. Again, we haven't gone anywhere necessarily. We're not necessarily pumping out as much content as we were when all of this started. But you can find us everywhere the Conspiracy Farm was. We've kind of switched it to put a big umbrella that all of our other shows are under. It's called That Podcast Network. That's why our YouTube name has changed. If you punch that out on SoundCloud, Spotify, everything else, that's kind of where we're at. So you get this show, you get It's Me Speaking to You, the show I host by myself, as well as Everything Combat, the other show that I co-host with Pat. We've had on George Foreman. It's just mostly about, the tagline is, because life is a fight. Everything Combat because life is a fight, and it's because it is, and 2020 is showing us just that. But it's listening and talking to people who've overcome a lot of crazy, heavy shit to transcend that tale of woe to really kind of become who they are. Whether it was George Foreman or Dan Gable, Tito Ortiz, Randy Couture, just a myriad of people, man. So I appreciate you guys' support. I appreciate your patience. Again, we're also on Rockfin, that podcast network on Rockfin, YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, etc. Thank you guys all so much. I appreciate you guys. And again, we're not a huge fan of YouTube, but we will still occasionally come back in and drop these. Obviously, these will be added to our normal catalog as well, but sometimes we'll just pop in here, do a Q&A. I felt this conversation with Mr. Tobacco was something that required a little bit of sense of urgency, just because, again, people's lives, livelihood, businesses are being shut down all over the country over something that almost 99% of people survive. And we have so many other things that people die from. We just don't do this to businesses. So, again, we just have to go say, feast on a satchel of Richards, man, when they try to shut our shit down. It should never be one of these things where we're making a choice between living our life and making a livelihood and following not even laws, just like orders that's not even really legally enforceable. So peace and so much love, you guys. I'm a grandpa, by the way. I had a grandson the other day. He's absolutely beautiful, and I'm super excited for that stage of my life. Cool adventure. I'm a grandpa, Grandpa Jeff, Grandpa Jeffrey, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, love you guys, man. Take care.